guys, Stephanie here, Wednesday, May 5th, and here we go again with another beautiful day. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. If you're new here to my channel, press that sub key and hit the top bell for future uploads. Thank you very much. So, I have been thinking lately about posting a video describing my first 6 months transition. That was the toughest, strenuous 6 months I have ever had in my life. Why? Wait and see. Wow, 6 months, yeah. Brings back memories, sure does. I had a lot on my plate. Prior to 6 months, I had spent months and months looking for an apartment here in Florida because I had decided that the best place that I was going to transition would be here and not in my home state, because I didn't want to have to answer a lot of questions and getting a lot of mixed feelings and reactions. And I didn't know a whole lot of transgender people back in Massachusetts. I just didn't. Because of course I hadn't come out within the few years I had come out to my family. So therefore it was difficult. And it was difficult trying to pinpoint any trans support groups there. It seemed to me that it was very prevalent in South Florida, so I decided to go to Sarasota. Yes, I did. So also what I did too, simultaneously, was looking for an apartment, starting a job transfer so I can have work when I came down here. I had known previously everything I wanted to do regarding my transition, and which was to locate a gender therapist, locate a endocrinologist, tap into a local trans support group to do meetings once a month, and introduce my transition to my new employers and all that stuff. It was strenuous. It was very, very strenuous, because at my job with the Home Depot back then, the store had about 350 employees, and I was the only transgender person there. Can you imagine the looks on their faces? I tell you, I encountered some anti-transgender people. Yes, I did. But it didn't stop me. But anyways, moving forward here, after I moved in and had settled in and started working, on my days off I would research a gender therapist, and that started the ball going for me. And shortly after completing my gender therapy meeting with my gender therapist, I found a good, reputable endocrinologist who was referred to by many of the friends that I had made that were transgenders as well. And getting in touch with him and going through all my lab results, and finally starting on the hormones and the male hormone blocker spironolactone. That was fun. And expensive. So because I wasn't making a whole lot of money back in 2007, financially it was very, very strenuous. So needless to say, I had to find an additional income, which meant working a part-time job. And so my goals were set. My goals were set. And I was still wearing my male clothes back then. Yes, I was. And finally starting on my hormones, immediately within 1 to 3 months, I started feeling that my body was changing very, very subtle. Immediately I noticed also that I felt more emotional. I became hypersensitive to everything, to my family not calling me and me feeling lonely, and I felt like I was losing my family. I felt kind of isolated. I didn't know a lot of people here in Florida, and even though I was meeting people slowly at the transgender support groups, it was still like, spending a lot of time by myself, working 2 jobs and doing a lot of reading and researching and reading about other people's transition, trying to get an idea how my transition would be. But, as you move through it, you find out that we all have the same end goals to transition successfully. And mostly people went about it differently somehow. Other people didn't have to work 2 jobs. I did. Also, I was burdened with a child support of $800 a month. My divorce attorney said, when you got up and quit your job, you gave yourself employment. Basically, in a nutshell. That meant I assumed I was going to have a way to produce income to continue with my child support. It was hard. It was difficult. I thought it would never be behind me. I never complained about paying child support. I love my son, and I also maintained a relationship with him. And I went up to Massachusetts several times to visit my son, trying to keep the bond, And that continued up until he was about 15 or 16, at which time I noticed that he wasn't really feeling comfortable with me anymore. He's getting older and he's having more friends close to his age. And our relationship got kind of strained. It was strained, and he didn't really want to come down to Florida anymore to stay with me on school breaks and all that stuff. So it was hard. It was hard for me, very hard. But I kept up with the phone calls, and I came up to Massachusetts to visit him as much as I can. So back to the hormone usage. As I progressed with the hormones, like I said, my body started to go through the changes, and the physical attributes, like my growth of my breasts and the pain in them associated with puberty, because you do go through a second puberty that most 14-year-old girls go through, or 13-year-old girls. So here I was, like in my early 40s, going through this transition, and it was interesting. I was starting to feel for the first time in my life like I had the right body. I was excited, I was happy. At the same time, I was feeling like that I was going to go through my whole transition by myself without the support of my family. No support from my brothers, no support from my sister. All in all, my parents totally ignored me for 7 years. I was belittled, I was dragged through the mud. Yes, I was, but I didn't give up. I had faith, and I was hoping that Someday they would understand me. And while you're going through all this personal stuff with your family, you're juggling your work, your part-time job, my full-time job, dealing with funny looks from customers on the job that I would have to work with on a daily basis, co-workers, bathroom issues. That was a biggie, because as I was transitioning, I was taking on a more feminine appearance that I could no longer use the men's room. So of course, I had to use the ladies' room. But it wasn't without challenges. I had obstacles for at least 3 years. 3 good solid years I had obstacles. It wasn't until I transferred out of that store about a year later and the progressing of my transition that things started to get a little better. Between my family not talking to me, between juggling 2 jobs and trying to maintain a relationship with my son, that things got strenuous. There were many times that I was very, very depressed. I didn't have regular friends to go out and do things with or sit down and talk about my transition with. The only time that happened was when I started dating a trans man. He was a college professor who had been thinking about transitioning, and I met him at the trans support groups. You can get into a relationship by meeting someone that you click with and have something in common with at the trans support groups, and that happened to me. So we dated about 8 months, and we spent a lot of time together, and we supported one another. He supported me and I supported him. I owe him a lot, because there were times that was hard financially, and he assisted me a little bit. And I'll always be grateful to him. So this is supposed to be about the first year, but I see we're moving into beyond that a little bit. I don't want to get too far ahead. And all along this, you're experiencing some shape or form of discrimination by society. Yes, I did. But I didn't sway or look the other way as to say, forget it, I don't want to do this. You know, you find out very quickly that you got to develop crocodile skin or just back off and not do it. Okay, because throughout your whole life, even when you're done transitioning, you can face discrimination or harassment from people. But it's not as much as it is the first year, you know. The first year was hard, you know. I had to wear heavy makeup to conceal my 5 o'clock shadow. The pill the first year, although it was very effective the first year. It's very effective the first year because it's being introduced something new into your body, and your body's saying, hey, what's going on here? You know, some things aren't working like they're supposed to, and other things are starting to happen. Well, very interesting things. The spironolactone pretty much made you impotent because it just killed off your sperm. Your production just stopped. All right. So, and I was just talking about financial. Yeah, those spironolactone male hormone blockers are expensive. They're almost $100 a month. Together with Estradiol, paying my child support, paying my car insurance, paying the rent, groceries, utility bills. I lived very, very tight for at least a good 3 or 4 years until I decided to get my furniture and bring it to storage and look for a roommate, and that's what I did. Having a roommate and paying just over half of what I was paying in my rent helped me out a lot. That's something that if you're coming out today and you have all these bills piling up, your transition bills, your hormones, all your living expenses, if you have a car payment or child support, having a roommate that doesn't discriminate, who's open-minded, helps a lot. Okay, it's very, very, very helpful to have a roommate who understands, and that happened to me twice. So I've been living alone now for the past, since 2012, in my own place. I lived in mobile homes, apartments, whatever I had to do to help my transition come to its end, I did. Other girls are not so lucky, or other trans men are not so lucky. It's difficult, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. You have to have alligator skin, crocodile skin, or without crocodile tears to be successful. You always got to keep in mind of how and where you want to be in this life, because some trans people are not so lucky. You have some trans women who resort to sex working in Las Vegas, in Miami, and those ain't safe practices to have, you know. But sometimes you're put into a desperate situation that you're doing it. You got to put food on the table. You have to have a roof over your head, you know. And it's not easy to just pack up and move in with someone, because you don't know your roommate well. You know what I mean? And if you're a sexual worker or a sex worker, you're gonna meet some crazy characters who can harm you or even kill you. And that's not funny, and it happens every year. You hear about it. Miami, California, Nevada. Trans people are having a hard time making ends meet. You know, we can't find a job as fast or as good as we could before transition. I think it's getting better. I was very, very lucky. You know, I transitioned on the job, so people got to know me as a person before I transitioned. So they kind of like transitioned with me, sort of, or they grew with me. You know, that helps too. Getting into an employment after you transition is good for you because you're done, but it might not be good for you in getting into a job, because even though there's equal opportunity employment agencies, these hiring people don't have to hire you. They can just say the position's filled, or we found somebody more that had better qualifications. They can lie about it and get away with it. So I was very, very lucky, and most trans people I knew were lucky as well. They all had jobs, and most of them transitioned on the job. And when they did that, we had protective rights under some of their anti-harassment policies. They had cannot discriminate if you're black or transgender or you're a gay person, whatever. It was already down in the laws and all that stuff. Florida is 50-50, I think, with being fair. On the whole, people really aren't going out trying to find trans people to hurt or to harass. Okay? I think that people that do harass you and discriminate against you, they're the ones with the problems, and it's not everybody that's like that. Okay? You actually have to try very hard to come on to meet someone or be in the same place where you're going to meet people like that. Okay? And it's usually not in your workplace, but there are a few bad apples that you could work with that don't see eye to eye with you just because they're very religious or they think we're committing a sin or something stupid like that. I've seen it all, believe me. But yeah, I am now 55 years old. I'll be 56 here in a couple of weeks. And I've had my share. And it's all a mixed ball of good and bad, you know. Like I said previously on my videos, my parents didn't talk to me until I was for 7 years. They didn't talk to me. And if you love your family very much, and you don't give up on them too, they might give up on you a little bit, just sorting it out, you know. But the more they learn about it in social media today, and they hear about new laws and new bills being signed to protect the LGBT community, they become more accepting. They become more accepting today than years ago, than 15, 20 years ago. Back then they were just lost. They just thought you were crazy and you were sick and you needed help. But no, we're not sick. We weren't crazy, because I don't feel sick. I don't feel like I got a mental problem. I may be a little bit dyslexic, but I don't think that I'm crazy at all. I don't think nobody in the LGBTQ community is crazy. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's how it was for me in the beginning. It was all that stuff rolled up into one. If I had to give somebody advice today on coming out, I would say, make sure that you take care of all loose ends before you begin your transition. If your spouse can accept you, or your girlfriend or boyfriend can accept you before you come out, and you come out to them, that's the best thing that can happen. But that's very, very, very small percentage of trans people. There are cases out there of them staying married and remaining married because that's real love, it's true love, you know, in its deepest sense. But your partner or your ex didn't sign up for this, you know. And we tried several times to shield it away or try to blend in and try to be what society thinks we should, along with our families. So anyway, I hope that if you're coming out now, that this shed a little bit of light on what you could possibly go through. But like I said, things have changed. Some things have changed for the good, other things have changed for the bad. The things that have changed for the bad is the cost of transitioning has gone up. If you want to have any cosmetic surgeries, that's gone up. You know, you're going to be looking at double the cost now. And now with the COVID-19 and everything, it might not be as fast as you wanted to. It can happen, but there's more planning involved and there's more costs involved.